Hey everybody, Margaret here. I just wanted to spend a few moments to explain to you some of my favorite tools to use in the kitchen and tools that are definitely not overhyped. There's a lot of tools in the kitchen that people say you have to have this, and then you go out and buy it, and lo and behold, you've only used it once, and now it's sitting somewhere in the back of your cabinet, and you don't even know where it is, to be honest. Things like blenders or immersion blenders, a lot of those types of things where they have a really good use for maybe a season of your life, but they're not super practical and they're expensive. And so I wanted to share with you some of my favorite tools in the kitchen that are so helpful and definitely worth having in your tool belt as a chef. So the first thing I want to say is get a food processor. Now, food processors admittedly are more expensive items to have in your kitchen. These are things that, they're usually at least $150, but if you're watching, you can get a good coupon from maybe Bed Bath & Beyond or Target or one of those big box stores. They usually have a lot of good sales. You could go on at Black Friday, but get yourself a food processor. These are so easy, and I didn't realize how many uses they had. I had one originally, and it was a gift from my mom, and I was, oh, this is a cool tool, but I have no idea what to use it for. So I made a lot of things like salsas. I used it for different vegetable chopping procedures. But what I didn't realize and what I came to realize is that you can make so much in your food processor. I made cream puff dough. I made cinnamon roll dough. I made lots of different kinds of pastas using my food processor. There's some great ways to get that texture that you want. Like I said already, you can get great textures for salsas, things like that. There's also just so many great ways. I make breadcrumbs all the time, and I always use my food processor. I use my food processor whenever I need to make a crust for a tart, or whenever I need to make a topping for a crisp or something to get that really good crumbly texture. It's my favorite tool in the kitchen to use that. You can get by with like a mixer or something along those lines, but that tends to give you a more smooth texture. The nice thing with the food processors, you have options that way, how smooth or how crumbly you want something. So that is definitely something that I would get. And honestly, there are so many more uses. They have cheese grater applications, and for me, I have a huge family that I'm always cooking for, and so if I'm making mac and cheese and I don't have to grate 6 bars of cheese by hand, I don't want to do that. So those are just some simple suggestions for how to use your food processor well. Another thing to use is your hand mixer. Now, again, I grew up in a big family, so we often made things in huge batches. But as my siblings started to leave the home and it was just me and my parents, I had to learn how to cook for a smaller amount of people. And so many of you, I'm sure, come from similar things where, you learn how to cook for big groups of people, and then all of a sudden it's 2 people and you don't know how to, how to dial down the recipes. And that's the nice thing about having a hand mixer, is that you can make so many things just using the hand mixer and not having to get out your big old KitchenAid to, put that out on the counter and it's all heavy and all that stuff. So get a hand mixer. They're great. They're also really nice because a lot of people will suggest you get an immersion blender. Excuse me, immersion blender for a lot of things if you want to stir something in the pot. And a lot of times you can actually get by with a hand mixer instead. And there's a nice portability aspect of that. In addition to the food processor and the hand mixer, the last thing is a handheld grater. This is one of my absolute favorite tools in the kitchen because instead of having to get out, again, your box grater and all that, you can get a handheld grater. Now, there are 3 things that I use this in the kitchen for consistently. The first thing is garlic. Every time I use garlic, I never chop garlic because chopping garlic is a hassle. We all know this. It sticks to the knife. It's just crazy. And it's a mess. And it's hard to get at that perfect texture. Another option for you is those garlic presses, which are great. They get the perfect texture. The problem is cleaning those things out. And invariably, I forget to clean them out. I put it in the washer and then now it's dried on there and I have to scrape it all out. So my solution to that is to use the handheld grater. It's super simple. It's easy to wash. It's easy to clean. It's very, very simple. It's a wonderful tool for that. Another thing is for zesting citrus. I absolutely love citrus, especially in the summertime. I'm always cooking with limes and lemons, and the zest is a great way to get that good citrus flavor into a dish. And so with my handheld grater, I can use this and it's just, you can see it better. You can see how much you've got. You can be a little bit more careful with making sure you don't get all the rind, just that you just get the color part of the fruit. And so that's a wonderful tool for those two things. Another thing is when I'm using spices, so like cinnamon or nutmeg. That's a great tool for that as well. Even with some softer vegetables and things like that, it's a wonderful way to be able to grate things and get that good texture without having to, pull out the heavy machinery for those things. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Those are just some of my top 3 recommendations for having in the kitchen. They make it so much easier and so much more enjoyable, because when you're not stressing about, getting all the big old tools out of your cabinet, you can enjoy the process so much more. So enjoy that and happy cooking.